arise out of inept due diligence or sheer negligence by MDAs? Do staff in procuring entities understand procurement laws and that it is their responsibility to ensure contractors fulfill their obligations and that government receives the goods and services it paid for? Or should we conclude they know the rules but choose to ignore them for our benefit? The legal framework for public procurement is set out in Article 227 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and in several sections of the Public Finance Management Act, number 18 of 2012, and the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015. Your Excellency, public resources are not infinite. Constant losses cannot be entertained. Under Section 44 of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015, accounting officers take responsibility for failure to ensure procurement is within approved budgets and procurement plans. Indeed, that section requires provisions of Section 68 of the Financial Management Act. Compliance with the law is therefore not optional. Section 79 of the Act makes it mandatory for public officers to comply with laws regulating public procurement. We cannot condone laxity, wastage, and losses anymore. It is time to strictly apply the penalties accruing from Section 72. Accounting officers failing to manage public assets to achieve value for money will henceforth be penalized. The same applies to application of Section 74(4). Public officers who breach accounting responsibility by making or permitting expenditure that is unlawful will be surcharged. I have deliberately highlighted these issues because they are at the center of perennial loss of resources arising from lost cases in courts of law. Going forward, we will soon issue a clear framework to address these deficiencies and make officers more accountable. Your Excellency, in order to fulfill the commitments made to our people, it is paramount that the whole public service honestly puts to practice the tried and time-tested result-based performance. To ensure that this is done, my office will ensure compliance with the annual performance contracting cycle timelines. This is besides holding quarterly meetings with principal secretaries to monitor achievements of agreed performance targets. In this context, a motivated human service resource remains core to performance management and service delivery. In order to promote productivity, innovation, and creativity in public service, youth and personnel living with disabilities require to be motivated. My office is developing a framework for an under 35 Employee of the Year annual award for this category of public officers. The award may be in the form of promotion and scholarships for such employees who demonstrate commitment and excellence in performance, innovation, and creativity that translates to effective public service delivery. This award will also enhance the visibility of target employees who exhibit high leadership growth potential across the public service. In conclusion, I do recognize the support and contributions of all our partners and collaborators in ensuring the institutionalization of performance management in the public service. Asanteni sana. It was a bit long, but I thought I had to convey this message. It is now my singular pleasure to invite His Excellency the Deputy President, Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, to come forward, make his remarks, and invite His Excellency the President.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, and Commander-in-Chief of our Defense Forces, Dr. William Ruto, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, all Cabinet Secretaries present, the Head of the Public Service and Chief of Staff, Principal Secretaries, senior government officials, good morning, afternoon. It's almost there. Good morning. Your Excellency, I'm a retired public servant, so this occasion is momentous for me. But you know, nowadays, I don't want to speak much. When the characters who try to stop my boss from working keep off, I also keep quiet. And therefore, we are happy, Your Excellency, you have the latitude to steer this country into economic prosperity. And the people before you and the entire public service, Your Excellency, is your machine for development. Your Excellency, a vibrant, motivated public service is good for the economy of this country. A motivated and vibrant public service is good for the country. President Mwai Kibaki, the celebrated president of this republic, succeeded in turning around the economy of this country by empowering the public service and allowing them to work. Your Excellency, since you came to the office, you have dignified the public service. Before you took over, Your Excellency, the public service was demoralized. They were demeaned and treated like outcasts. Your Excellency, in the last 5 years, senior civil servants were harassed, hounded, and treated like criminals. We have the celebrated and infamous case of Kamau Thuge, who was the PS National Treasury, who was harassed by junior police officers in full glare of cameras, marched from 10th floor of the Treasury downstairs by constables, put in a vehicle, locked up, only for them later to say he had no case. He had already been demeaned before his family, his friends, and society. Your Excellency, we want to commend you for affirming that senior public servants need to be handled with the dignity and decorum. We are not saying by any means that investigative agencies where there are issues of impropriety, of mismanagement, of misappropriation should not do their work. All we are saying is that before you can conclude that somebody has done something wrong, protect his or her dignity. Because these public servants have families, they have friends, they have people they go to church with, and it is wrong to humiliate them and treat them unfairly before you have a case against them. Your Excellency, since you came to office, this has not happened, and we want to urge all those who are interacting with our public servants to accord them due respect and dignity, because these are the people who are the engine of your development. Finally, Your Excellency, I invite all the public servants to take time to read, understand, digest the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, the plan, so that they understand your vision, they understand your programs, and they understand the bottom-up economic transformation agenda as your tool of developing this country. Once they have understood the plan, they will make your work very easy. With those many remarks, I request you to be upstanding and help me to usher in, with clapping, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy President. Let's take our seats. Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy President, Mr. Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, Cabinet Secretaries present, Principal Secretaries, Chairpersons, and Chief Executives of our state corporations, Chairpersons, and Principals of our tertiary institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good afternoon. Today we witness the culmination of the annual performance contracting cycle and the commencement of analysis, reflection, and improvement of future performance on the basis of evidence-based evaluation and feedback. Although the performance management framework is now in the 19th annual cycle, it is important to note that it emphatically and systematically incorporates, articulates, and enforces the values and principles of public service as laid down in Article 232 of the Constitution of Kenya, and thereby enables the public service to become the foremost champion of the national values and principles of governance set out in Article 10 of our Constitution. We must do our part in full to ensure that this event and the process it represents underscores high professional standards, highlights efficient, effective, and economic use of resources, demonstrates responsiveness, promptness, effectiveness, impartiality, and equity in service provision, enhances transparency and accountability, and promotes meritocracy, inclusivity, and diversity. The imperative of ensuring that the provisions of the public service to citizens meets a specified constitutional threshold makes it inevitable for us to insist upon a more standardized, rational, and evidence-based management regime. Last week, I engaged public servants about the constitutional stipulations regarding how government goes about the task of realizing citizens' expectations through the public service. In our constitutional dispensation, the public service is configured to become the optimal instrument to effectively mediate between the government's commitments and citizens' aspirations. In formulating the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, we went to great lengths to conduct exhaustive consultations with Kenyans throughout the country. These consultations enabled us to formulate the policy and strategic basis of our manifesto, as well as formal charters containing actionable commitments to be implemented through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We understand our governing mandate to be anchored on the deep understanding we have with the people of Kenya, and that my performance contract as president is set out in the Constitution and the agenda I sold with my team to the people of Kenya. My performance contract, therefore, sets out targets that the government must achieve in feeding every Kenyan, providing affordable housing throughout the country, achieving the universal health coverage, establishing necessary infrastructure for the expansive growth of the digital and creative economies, as well as creating millions of jobs through aggressive expansion of micro, small, and medium enterprises, including industrialization. In other words, I'm saying that while we have the privilege to serve in the public service, it's not a right. We are close to 700,000 people in the public service out of 50+ million Kenyans. It is a privilege for us, the few of us, to serve in the public service. But that privilege comes with a responsibility on what do we do to create opportunity for the millions who do not have the privilege we have to serve in the public service. What is it that we are going to do so that they too can have an opportunity to work, to get a job, to do a business, and to go about their lives as the rest of us are doing? And that comes with huge responsibility on each and every one of us that have the privilege to serve in the public service. We understand our governing mandate, as I have said. And as I have said, my performance contracts, therefore, sets out targets that the government must achieve. My team in the executive assists me in the performance of this contract through contracted delegation as authorized in the Constitution, and the programs, projects, and tasks required to be performed are relayed onward to various departments and agencies under ministries. Under Article 132(3)(b), I shall exercise my mandate to direct and coordinate the functions of these ministries and government departments, thereby ensuring that your effective performance satisfies the government's contractual obligation with the people of Kenya. We all have a contract with the people of Kenya, and that contract is going to be effectively measured by performance. And I agree that that performance must be measured. In other words, you will have all the necessary authority and support to deliver successfully, because through you, I am committed in every item indicated during my performance evaluation when I return to the people to seek a fresh mandate. Therefore, oversee the execution of government mandate to the highest degree of achievement and the best level of performance. I know we have had to have some very unpleasant discussions with many of you on many occasions. I've had to make telephone calls, we've had to engage in various ways. We've had sometimes very interesting conversations, and I must commend many public servants who put in their very best. And I see it, and we witness it, and the people of Kenya feel it. I know that we've also had occasions when we haven't quite been in very good terms. And we've had to, do what we have to do. Let me give you maybe a few examples. I must commend the partnership between the ministry responsible for the Hustler Fund. In a record 3 months, we were able to put together with the private sector. I must commend the CEO of Safaricom, the CEO of Airtel, the CEO of Telecom Kenya. They came through, sat on a table with us, and in a record 90 days, we had a product that today 7 million Kenyans are borrowing every day and repaying. We have a product that has given us the opportunity to lend 26 billion shillings in a record 5 months. We have saved close to 1.3 billion, and we have 7 million Kenyans borrowing daily on that platform. I know many people have asked me, especially those of us in the political class, that how can we have such a successful product and we are not making enough political, noise around it so that people know it is happening. I want to tell you, relax. 7 million Kenyans know what that program is doing to them. Let me also, in a very special way, just commend some of our performers. My economic advisor, David Ndi, Mohammed Hassan, Davis Chirchir, and the young man at EPRA. Those 4 gentlemen have done something phenomenal in our country. They have managed to put together a program that has taken us away from looking for $500 million every month to buy our fuel needs, which was slowly snowballing into a crisis. Today, as a country, we can buy fuel in Kenya shillings, something that many people never thought it would be possible. Again, I want to commend these good people. And let me tell you that from this month of April, all our fuel marketers, and all the people in that space, they will be able to buy our products, fuel products, in Kenya shillings. And it will remove pressure on our dollars. In fact, in the next 1 month or so, you will see dollars coming down, the exchange rate coming down in a very phenomenal way. In fact, in my estimation, in the next couple of months, the dollars will come, the exchange rate will come below 120 shillings. Maybe 115, you never know. So, and these are outstanding actions of public servants who are contributing towards what our citizens are expecting. Let me also, commend one lady. I don't know whether Pamela Mutua is here, of KNTC. I don't know whether she's here. That lady, we must clap for her in absence. Because we are managing a situation in the country where we have to supply food relief to citizens across the country. And we have to buy these items from home. As I was, working with this lady on fertilizer and telling her we must bring down the prices, I was telling her we must bring down the prices of how much we are buying the food items. In the course of doing all that, we have some public works. And those people in a department, I don't know, called materials department or something, supplies department, the people in that supplies place, they were busy increasing the price of commodities. Imagine, in the middle of a food crisis, somebody is sitting in a public office and, negotiating himself and, trying to take advantage of a problem. And they were increasing the prices, imagine, of supply of some of these items. I don't know, rice was going up from 5,000 to 7,200. So this lady tells me, but Mr. President, why is the government telling us to increase the price at which we buy rice from 5,000 to 7,000? This is not the private sector telling us. It is people sitting in government. Those people in that department supplies. Tutawashtaki kwa Mungu. Surely, you know, that is how, and that is why I say, the people who do well, the people who serve with dignity and sincerity, like Pamela, who told me, Mr. President, we are being told this, please stop these people. And I had to stop them. Today, and I want to thank the office of the Deputy President. Today, we are buying those food items at between 4,500 and 5,000. Not the 7,000 those supply people were telling us. So, we must evaluate everybody. The bad guys in supplies department, we must deal with them. And the good people like Pamela, we must reward them. Because that's how this is going to work. Let me also say one more thing about my good deputy here. We had a program, we were registering farmers. For 5 years, we managed to register only 1 million farmers. But just in 2 weeks, this deputy of mine mobilized the whole public service because he was a former public servant. And they registered 5 million farmers in 2 weeks. Today, we are giving fertilizer to farmers using a digital platform. Everybody gets an SMS, your fertilizer is ready, come for it. You don't have to queue. The cartels have disappeared. The conmen have no place to steal our fertilizer. For the first time, every farmer who needed fertilizer got fertilizer, and that program is moving very well. In other words, I am saying it is possible for us to do the right thing and take the country forward. And therefore, and I want to speak to you as people who collectively we've been given the privilege by the people of Kenya to serve them, to work for them. We must also make sure that the privilege we have, the opportunity we have, translates into opportunity for the millions of Kenyans to have access to a job, access to a business opportunity, access to do their farming, and drive our country into the right direction. Here is our opportunity to unbundle all the commitments in our agenda as determined in the high-level retreat in Nanyuki early this year, and to prepare to assign them for implementation to every department, all the way to every public servant. As we consider the results of the evaluation and feedback, we also have to deliberate with greater intention about the design of the forthcoming performance contracts, their implementation and evaluation. Above and beyond the broader constitutional obligations and the strategic objectives in terms of our plan, I am very keen to observe how the next performance management cycle enhances the realization of the national values and principles of governance throughout government, at all levels of governance, and in all parts of the country. In particular, how much the public service affords equal opportunities for men and women, persons from all communities, and persons with disability will be of foremost interest. Equally, critical will be the mainstreaming of a comprehensive agenda for Kenyan youth, including training, apprenticeship, industrial attachment, and internship, access to government procurement opportunities, and entrenchment of the digital and creative economy. Further, it is of paramount importance that the performance management mechanism meaningfully reflects our resolve to enhance efficiency and reach of government services through digitization, automation, and deployment of various information and communication technologies. Kenya is a regional, continental, and global champion of a just transition to clean, green industrialization. Our credibility in this cause is founded on demonstrable commitment to green up our national power grid, restore degraded landscapes and ecosystems, conserve forests, water towers, wetlands, and other carbon sinks, and promote heavy investment in wind, solar power, and in addition to hydro and geothermal power. We are also promoters of e-mobility and sustainability across every sector. This magnitude of our commitment to the green agenda is further demonstrated by the fact that Kenya will host the Africa Climate Action Summit in Nairobi between 4th and 6th of September this year. I therefore expect our performance management framework to incorporate commitments that are consistent with our obligation under Article 42 and 69 and commensurate with our credentials as a global leader in green industrialization. Because of the urgency in delivering our commitments and providing services to the people, the need to ensure that every shilling of our increasingly scarce resources delivers its fullest value and the requirements of transparency and accountability. The government is determined to reinvigorate performance management as a means of motivating, facilitating, and coordinating the public service in our delivery of the mandate that has been given to us by the people of Kenya. This juncture, I must emphasize the need to ensure completion of viable, budgeted for, and already commenced projects and programs before we embark on new ones. I ask Cabinet Secretaries, Principal Secretaries, Chief Executive Officers of state corporations, and principals of tertiary institutions to use performance contracts to ensure that projects and programs are completed on time and within available resources. As I have said before, we made a commitment that we are going to steer the country away from the cliff where we were heading in terms of our economy. First initial step was to reduce the amount of borrowing that we were heading in the wrong direction. We did decide as a government that though we had agreed with our development partners, including our multilateral lenders, on a fiscal deficit of 6.2% of GDP, we deliberately decided that we're going to come down to 5.7% of GDP as our commitment to a new trajectory of ensuring that Kenya lives within its means. And as a government, we live within our means. In the same spirit, I have had a candid conversation with the ministry responsible for infrastructure, and the 910 billion worth of projects that were already in some form committed. We've scaled it down, and I had a long meeting with all the agencies under the Ministry of Transport and Roads to scale it down. I think we have shaved another 250 billion out of that so that we can stagger the projects, deliver on the ones that are of immediate, already started and rolling, and then do the others later, because we have to live within our means. I want to assure you and assure the country that we are well on course in running a stable economy that is not dependent on unnecessary, excessive borrowing. I know we had an issue of delayed salaries, which is, somebody said, it is the first time that we are having delayed salaries. Yes, it is the first time we are having delayed salaries. But it's also the first time we are having such monumental debts. I want to assure the country that that is managed. We have turned the corner. All I assure the country is the commitment I made that we are not going to borrow money to spend on recurrent expenditure, including salaries. That is the position of the government of Kenya. We will not do that. We will look for our taxes, and I want to commend the Kenya Revenue Authority for what they are doing. They are today at 95% of their commitment. Thank you, Madam Acting Commissioner. They are doing a wonderful job in a very difficult terrain. We have experience of people who are not used to paying taxes. But we have said that this is no longer going to be the animal farm. All of us are going to pay. So again, let me say that that is now behind us. We are moving in the right direction, but to assure the country that we will not continue the old tradition of borrowing money to pay recurrent expenditure, to pay salaries. We are going to pay salaries from our own resources. We are going to carry out our recurrent expenditure using our own resources. And we have moved our fiscal deficit to 5.7%. Our target is to take it to 5% next year and 4.4% the following year, so that we can work within the parameters of the resources that we can raise as we grow our own tax revenue. I have also instructed the Treasury to look at all the taxes, to have a tax review of all the taxes. There are some taxes we certainly are going to reduce in the coming budget, because some of the taxes are punitive and they actually encourage more dodging than paying and compliance, so that we can make it much more easy for citizens, corporates, and all the people that work with us to comply with taxes. Institutionalizing performance management is both desirable and rational. This is the rationale behind the decision to assign the government's performance contracting mechanism to the Public Service Performance Management Unit in the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and I am confident that we shall all begin to experience considerable improvement in public service delivery. As we hold the rest of public service to account on this matter, I will definitely hold the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi also on a performance contract to make sure that this actually happens. I also know that the institutionalization of performance management in government is going to be further anchored in a clear policy framework through the Public Service Performance Management Bill, once it undergoes the necessary developments in readiness for legislation in our Parliament. In keeping with our digital agenda, I am delighted to note that the Government of Kenya has made progress in developing the government online performance contracting information system. This system will promote efficiency, promptness, and transparency, thereby delivering the possibilities, benefits, and advantages of digital technology to the management of public service delivery. A result-oriented, effective coordination and commitment to go beyond the extra mile must be the new features of our approach to service delivery. Let us each do our part in strengthening a performance culture through the public service. To do this, let us eradicate all practices of sabotaging and discouraging high standards of performance in public service and instead motivate, reinforce, encourage, and support them. Let us also remember that the performance management mechanism is one more platform on which Kenyans will subject our servants to intense scrutiny and align our conduct accordingly. Let me say here again to thank the Senate and National Assembly for acceding to my request that we provide a platform where the people's representatives sitting in Parliament can interrogate our administration by affording a platform for cabinet secretaries to be able to answer questions directly in Parliament. And I am happy that that process is going to begin tomorrow, so that cabinet secretaries can get to the floor of the House, answer questions from the people's representatives, explain our actions, and create a better interface between the executive and the legislature in a mechanism that ensures greater accountability of the government of Kenya. Because I am a very strong believer in accountability. It is the same reason that hopefully through the bipartisan process, we can also get our opposition away from street battles and also afford them an opportunity with a leader of opposition infrastructure funded by the government of Kenya, again, to perform their function of holding government to account. We have absolutely no issue. In fact, accountability works best for everybody. Accountability is best when it is anchored around institutions. That's why the institution of Parliament will hold our executive to account. We want to build the institution of the opposition as is guaranteed in the Constitution, as also another institution to hold government to account, because accountability is actually the measure of any performance of any administration. And I hope that this will be part of the outcomes of the engagement, the bipartisan engagement that we have now agreed on, so that we can move our friends in the opposition from running battles in the streets, unnecessarily destroying people's property, creating chaos and anarchy, back to a civilized place where we can engage constructively and be able to hold the institutions to account. I think we all agree that we are better off with institutions, building institutions that will assist us take the country forward, rather than having running battles in the streets with sufurias on top of heads. The annual performance evaluation results to be released today will form the benchmark for performance in subsequent contracting cycles. Against this, it will be reasonable for Kenyans to expect incrementally enhanced performance in the spirit of continuous improvement. Similarly, time has come for us to brace ourselves and be ready to embrace the discussion and feedback, compliments and criticism, praise and condemnation that may be instigated by the results to be launched today. That is, in any case, accountability at work. I assure you of my full support as you implement this year's performance contracts and those in future. I now officially release the results and report on evaluation of performance of ministries, state corporations, and tertiary institutions for the financial year 2021-2022. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. God bless you and God bless our great country. Asanteni sana.